Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in the observation deck of New Horizon, watching the stars through the thick glass. The space station spun slowly, creating artificial gravity in most sections. But here in the center, everything was weightless and peaceful. She pressed her hand against the cool surface and smiled. 50 years ago, humans had been alone on their small blue planet. Now they lived among the stars, working alongside aliens from dozens of different worlds. It was a dream come true. "Doctor, we have a problem," called Marcus Chun from across the room. He was Elena's chief engineer, a man who could fix anything with spare parts and determination. Elena pushed off from the window and floated toward Marcus. "What kind of problem?" "The Galactic Council wants another inspection of our research labs," Marcus said, reading from his tablet. "They're sending Admiral Vorthik next week." Elena sighed. The council treated humans like children who couldn't be trusted with dangerous toys. They inspected every human research project twice a year. They said it was for safety, but Elena knew better. The council was afraid. Not afraid of humans exactly. They were afraid of what humans might build. "Let me guess," Elena said. "They want to see our kinetic research again?" "Of course they do," Marcus replied. "They think we're stupid for still using bullets and missiles when everyone else has laser cannons." The other alien species in the galaxy had moved beyond kinetic weapons thousands of years ago. They used plasma beams that could melt through steel. They had particle cannons that could tear apart atoms. They possessed energy shields that could stop almost any attack. But they had forgotten something important. They had forgotten that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. Elena and her team had spent 10 years working on Project Thunder. The council thought it was just research into better bullets and rockets. They never bothered to look too closely, because kinetic weapons were considered primitive and useless. The council was wrong. "How's the main gun coming along?" Elena asked quietly. Marcus grinned. "We finished the tests yesterday. The electromagnetic rails are perfect. The power coupling systems work perfectly. The targeting computer can hit a coin from 1,000,000 kilometers away." Elena felt excitement rising in her chest. 2 kilometers below them, hidden in the lower sections of New Horizon, was the largest railgun ever built by human hands. It ran along the entire length of the station's backbone, invisible to casual scans. The weapon could accelerate a tungsten rod to 15% of light speed. At that velocity, even a small projectile carried more energy than most space missiles. But the council didn't know that. They saw it as just another kinetic weapon. "Doctor," called Sarah Kim from the communications station. "I'm receiving an emergency signal." Elena pushed herself over to Sarah's workstation. The young woman looked worried as she adjusted her headset. "What's the message?" Elena asked. "It's from the Zephyrian colony on Kepler 442b, Sarah said. "They're under attack. A hegemony raid fleet just entered their system." A hegemony raid fleet them. Elena's blood ran cold. The hegemony was a group of pirates and criminals who attacked peaceful worlds. They had powerful ships and no conscience. They would kill thousands of innocent Zephyrians just to steal their resources. "How many ships?" Elena asked. 12 warships, Sarah replied. "The colony has no defenses. They're calling for help." "What about the Council response fleet?" Sarah checked her screens. "The nearest Council ships are 3 weeks away. The Zephyrians will be dead long before help arrives." Elena stared at the star charts on the main display. Kepler 442b was only 12 hours away at maximum speed. New Horizon could reach the system before the massacre really began. But what could they do? New Horizon was a research station, not a warship. It had no plasma cannons or particle beams. It had no energy shields or armor plating. All it had was Project Thunder. "Marcus," Elena said slowly, How long would it take to charge the main gun? Marcus understood immediately. 2 hours for a full charge. But Elena, we've never tested it against real targets. We don't know if it will work in combat. The simulations were perfect, Elena replied. The physics are solid. A tungsten rod at 15% light speed will punch through anything. But if we use it, the whole galaxy will know what we've built, Marcus warned. The Council will demand explanations. Some species might declare war on us. Elena looked around the room at her team. These were the best engineers and scientists that Earth had ever produced. They had spent their lives pushing the boundaries of what was possible. They had built something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. And now innocent people were dying while the galaxy's protectors sat too far away to help. Sarah. Set course for the Kepler system, Elena said. Maximum speed. Elena, are you sure about this? Marcus asked. She nodded. The Zephyrians saved my daughter's life when she was sick with Rigel fever. They shared their medical knowledge freely, even though we had nothing to offer in return. I won't let them die because the Council is too slow to respond. And the consequences? Marcus pressed. Elena looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, alien families were hiding in their homes while pirates decided their fate. The Council ships were fast and powerful, but they couldn't be everywhere at once. Sometimes, regular people had to step up and do what was right. We'll deal with the consequences later, Elena said. Right now, we have a job to do. The station's engines rumbled to life, pushing New Horizon toward its date with destiny. In the lower levels, Project Thunder began its charging sequence. Electromagnetic coils started storing massive amounts of energy. Targeting computers came online. Safety systems activated. Elena watched the stars streak past as they entered hyperspace. In 12 hours, the galaxy would learn that humans were not as primitive as everyone thought. The age of kinetic weapons was about to return with a vengeance, and it would all start with a single shot. The hyperspace tunnel collapsed around New Horizon as the station dropped back into normal space. Elena gripped the arm of her command chair as the artificial gravity fluctuated from the sudden deceleration. Report, she called out. We're at the edge of the Kepler system. Sarah announced from her station. 12 hours and 37 minutes from Earth. Marcus was already running diagnostics on their systems. All stations are green. The main gun is charged and ready. Elena nodded and looked at the main display. The screen showed the Kepler system in 3 dimensions, with planets, asteroids, and ships marked in different colors. 12 red dots surrounded the 3rd planet where the Zephyrian colony lived. Magnify the enemy fleet, Elena ordered. The display zoomed in on the hegemony ships. They were ugly vessels, built for destruction rather than beauty. The largest ship was a dreadnought over 500 meters long. Its black hull was covered with weapon ports and armor plating. Smaller cruisers and destroyers floated nearby like sharks around their leader. They're demanding the colonists surrender, Sarah reported as she monitored communications. The Zephyrians are refusing. Colony Administrator Thezis says they would rather die fighting than live as slaves. Elena felt proud of the Zephyrians. They were a peaceful people who looked like tall, blue-skinned elves. But they had courage when it mattered most. Doctor, we're being hailed, Sarah said. It's the Hegemony flagship. Put them on screen. The display flickered and showed a reptilian face covered in scars. Captain Vex of the Hegemony was known throughout the galaxy as a ruthless killer. His yellow eyes stared directly at Elena. Human vessel, Vex hissed. You will surrender immediately. Your research station will make a valuable prize. Elena stood up straight. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez of the Earth vessel New Horizon. You are attacking peaceful colonists in violation of galactic law. Withdraw immediately. Vex laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. One human research station against 12 warships? You have no weapons, no shields, no armor. You are insects buzzing around giants. We are humans, Elena replied calmly. We don't buzz. We bite. The connection ended as Vex cut the signal. On the tactical display, Elena could see the hegemony ships turning toward New Horizon. They were treating the research station as an easy target. Marcus, status on the main gun? Elena asked. Electromagnetic rails are at full power, Marcus reported. Projectile is loaded and ready. We have a clear shot at their flagship. Elena took a deep breath. Once she gave the order, there would be no going back. The galaxy would know that humans possessed weapons beyond anything the Council expected. Sarah, open a channel to the Zephyrian colony. Channel open. Doctor, Administrator Thizes, this is Elena Vasquez. Please keep your people in their shelters. We're going to end this quickly. The reply came immediately. Dr. Vasquez, your ship has no weapons that can threaten the hegemony fleet. Please escape while you can. Trust us, Elena said simply. She turned to Marcus. Lock onto the flagship. Full power shot. Target locked, Marcus confirmed. Tungsten rod ready for acceleration. Elena looked around the command center. Her team watched her with complete trust. They had worked together for 10 years, building something the galaxy had never seen. Now it was time to test their creation in real combat. All stations, prepare for main gun discharge, Elena announced. This is what we train for. The lights dimmed as New Horizon's main reactor diverted all power to the electromagnetic rails. 2 kilometers below, massive coils began spinning up to incredible speeds. The tungsten projectile sat perfectly centered in the barrel, waiting for its moment. Charging complete, Marcus called out. Ready to fire on your command. Elena thought about her daughter, who had been saved by Zephyrian doctors. She thought about all the innocent families hiding in their homes while pirates decided their fate. She thought about the Council's slow response and their dismissive attitude toward human weapons. Fire, she said. The button was pressed. Electricity flowed through the electromagnetic rails at precisely the right moment. Magnetic fields accelerated the tungsten rod down the 2-kilometer barrel in less than a second. The projectile exited New Horizon at 15% of light speed. It punched through the fabric of space itself, creating a brief hyperspace tunnel that collapsed immediately. The rod emerged directly in front of the hegemony flagship with no warning. Captain Vex had exactly 1 millisecond to realize something was wrong before the tungsten rod hit his ship. The kinetic energy was beyond imagination. The projectile didn't just penetrate the dreadnought's shields and armor. It vaporized them instantly. The tungsten rod passed completely through the ship from bow to stern, converting matter to energy as it went. For a brief moment, a new star appeared in the Kepler system. The flagship didn't explode so much as it ceased to exist, replaced by a ball of pure energy that expanded outward. Incredible speed. The blast was so powerful it created ripples in space-time itself. Every ship in the system felt the gravitational waves pass through them like a cosmic earthquake. Sensors throughout the galaxy detected the impossible energy signature of a kinetic weapon that had somehow achieved near-relativistic speeds. "Sweet mother of Einstein," Marcus whispered. Staring at the readings dot where the flagship had been, only empty space remained. The other 11 hegemony ships floated in shocked silence, their crews trying to understand what had just happened. "The enemy fleet is requesting permission to surrender," Sarah reported with amazement in her voice. Elena smiled grimly. "Tell them to leave the system immediately. If they're still here in 1 hour, they'll join their flagship." The hegemony ships needed no further encouragement. Their engines lit up as they fled toward the edge of the system, desperate to escape before the humans fired again. Colony Administrator Thizes is hailing us, Sarah said. Elena nodded. Put him through. The blue-skinned Zephyrian appeared on screen, his large eyes wide with shock. Dr. Vasquez, what did you do? Our sensors detected an energy release equivalent to a small star. How is that possible with kinetic weapons? Physics, Elena replied. Einstein showed us that mass and energy are the same thing. We just learned how to use that knowledge as a weapon. All across the galaxy, emergency broadcasts were spreading the news. Military analysts stared at sensor readings that shouldn't be possible. Ancient species remembered stories of kinetic weapons from their prehistoric wars. Younger races demanded explanations. Elena sat back in her command chair and watched the stars. New Horizon had just fired the shot that would change everything. The galaxy thought humans were primitive because they still used bullets and missiles. The galaxy was wrong, and now everyone would know it. Admiral Cathara of the Centaurian fleet stared at the sensor readings for the 5th time. The numbers still made no sense. Computer, verify the energy output measurements from the Kepler system, she commanded. Verification complete, the ship's artificial intelligence replied in its calm voice. The kinetic impact released 4.7 times 10 to the 18th power joules of energy. This is equivalent to the explosion of a small star. Kithara's forearms moved restlessly as she thought. The Centaurians were known throughout the galaxy for their logical minds and advanced science. If anyone could understand what the humans had done, it should be her. But this was impossible. Ma'am, we're receiving another emergency transmission from the Galactic Council, her communications officer announced. Put it through to my ready room, Cathara replied. And get me every piece of data we have on human kinetic weapons research. The ready room was quiet and comfortable, with star charts covering the walls. Cathara activated the holographic communicator and found herself facing 5 other council members from different species. President Voss of the Amalonian Republic spoke first. His people looked like humans except for their silver skin and large black eyes. Admiral, please tell me you found an explanation for what happened in the Kepler system. I wish I could, Mr. President, Cathara replied. Our best scientists are studying the data, but the physics don't make sense. A kinetic weapon should not be able to generate that much energy. Council member Jex of the Drachnary Empire leaned forward. The reptilian warrior's eyes gleamed with interest. Perhaps the humans have been lying about their technology level. Perhaps they are more advanced than we thought. Or perhaps they've discovered something we missed, added Council member Thyra of the Zephyrian colonies. Her blue skin was pale with worry. My people owe their lives to Dr. Vasquez and her crew, but the weapon they used scared our sensors off the scale. High Counselor Nex of the Etherian Collective remained silent during the discussion. His ancient species rarely spoke in council meetings anymore. They had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago before retreating into isolation. But now his glowing eyes show concern. We need answers, President Voss said. Half the galaxy is panicking about human superweapons. The other half wants to steal their technology. We can have wars breaking out within days. Cathara nodded. I'll take a science team to examine the wreckage in the Kepler system. If anyone can figure out what the humans did, it's my people. 3 days later, Kithara's ship arrived at the battlefield. Where the hegemony flagship had been, space itself seemed wounded. Strange energy readings rippled through the area like waves on a cosmic ocean. Deploy the analysis probes, Cathara ordered. Her science team worked for hours, collecting every piece of debris they could find. Most of the flagship had been completely destroyed, but tiny fragments remained scattered across thousands of kilometers. Dr. Viren, Cathara's chief scientist, studied the readings with growing amazement. Admiral, you need to see this. Cathara floated over to his workstation in the zero-gravity science lab. What did you find? The metal fragments show signs of atomic transmutation, Dr. Varin explained. Some of the iron in the ship's hull was converted to lighter elements. That should be impossible with a simple kinetic impact. What could cause that? Only one thing. The projectile was moving so fast that it approached the speed of light. At those velocities, kinetic energy approaches infinite potential. The humans didn't just hit the ship. They hit it with a piece of accelerated space-time. Kitara felt a chill run through her forearms. How fast would the projectile need to be moving? At least 15% of light speed. Maybe more. That's impossible. No kinetic weapon can achieve those velocities. Dr. Varin showed her the mathematical calculations on his screen. It's theoretically possible with electromagnetic acceleration. But the power requirements would be enormous. You'd need the entire output of a fusion reactor. The humans built a research station around a fusion reactor, Kithara realized. We thought they were just powering their experiments. Back on New Horizon, Elena was dealing with the political consequences of her actions. Every major government in the galaxy wanted to talk to her. Some offered friendship and trade deals. Others made threats and demands. "Doctor, we have 17 more requests for interviews," Sarah reported. "The Galactic News Network wants an exclusive. The Drachnary Military Academy wants to hire you as a consultant. And the Etherian Collective wants you to appear before their high court." Elena rubbed her temples. She hadn't slept in 3 days. "What about the Council investigation team?" "Admiral Kithara will arrive tomorrow morning. She's bringing a full science team and some very advanced scanning equipment." Marcus looked up from his engineering console. "Should we hide Project Thunder?" Elena shook her head. "It's too late for that. The whole galaxy knows we have some kind of superweapon. Trying to hide it now would just make us look suspicious." The next morning, Admiral Kithara's ship docked with New Horizon. Elena met the Centaurian officer in the main airlock. Kithara was impressive, even by alien standards. She was 3 meters tall, with 4 muscular arms and skin that shimmered like blue metal. "Dr. Vasquez," Kithara said, extending one of her hands. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." "Admiral," Elena replied, shaking the offered hand. "I assume you want to know how we destroyed that ship." "Among other things, yes. My science team has some fascinating theories, but we need to hear the truth from you." Elena led Kithara through the station's corridors. They passed laboratories filled with human scientists working on various projects. Most looked like normal research. But Elena knew that each lab contained some piece of advanced technology that the Council didn't understand. "You've been underestimating us," Elena said as they walked. "So it seems. The Council classified humans as a level 3 technological species. We assumed you were centuries behind the galactic average." "We're not behind," Elena corrected. "We're different. While other species were perfecting energy weapons, we kept working on kinetic systems. We've had 300 years to perfect the science of accelerating matter." They reached the observation deck overlooking Project Thunder. Through the transparent aluminum windows, Kithara could see the massive electromagnetic rails that ran the length of the station. The weapon was beautiful in its simplicity. Just 2 parallel metal tracks that could accelerate objects to impossible speeds. "Magnificent," Kithara breathed. "How fast can it shoot?" 15% of light speed with our current power systems," Elena replied. 20% if we overload the reactor. The energy requirements must be incredible." Elena smiled. "That's the beauty of kinetic weapons. Once you fire the projectile, all that energy goes with it to the target. Energy weapons lose power over distance, but kinetic weapons actually gain energy as they accelerate through space." Kithara studied the railgun with her scientific mind. This could revolutionize space warfare. A single shot could destroy any ship in the galaxy. That's the idea. We didn't build this to start wars, Admiral. We built it to end them. As they spoke, both women knew that the galaxy had changed forever. The age of energy weapons was ending. The age of kinetic weapons had begun, and humanity was leading the way. General Krex of the Drachnary Empire slammed his clawed fist on the metal table. The sound echoed through the war room like a gunshot. 6 months, he roared. 6 months of work, and our railgun barely reaches 3% of light speed. How are the humans doing this? His chief engineer, Dr. Vorth, cowered behind a stack of technical reports. Sir, we've tried everything. Stronger magnets, more power, better targeting systems. But we can't match their acceleration rates. Krex turned to stare out the window at the orbital construction yards. Dozens of ships were being fitted with new kinetic weapon systems. But if they couldn't match human performance, the weapons would be useless. What about the stolen data from the human station? Krex demanded. Dr. Vorth shook his head nervously. The theft attempt failed, sir. Human security proved more effective than expected. 3 of our best agents are still in their medical bay. Krex growled deep in his throat. The Drachnari were the galaxy's premier military power. They had conquered 17 star systems through superior firepower and tactics. But now a single human research station had weapons that could destroy their entire fleet. It was unacceptable. Sir, called his intelligence officer from across the room. We're receiving a priority message from the Etherian Collective. Krex walked over to the communication station. The Etherians never contacted anyone directly. They had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago before deciding that younger species should govern themselves. If they were sending messages now, something big was happening. The holographic display activated, showing the glowing form of High Counselor Nex. The ancient being's voice carried the weight of eons. General Krex of the Drachnary Empire. The Collective has a proposal. I'm listening, Krex replied carefully. The humans have brought kinetic weapons back to the galaxy. This cannot be allowed to continue. Such weapons destroyed countless worlds in the ancient times. We abandoned them for the good of all life. Krex's eyes brightened with interest. You're offering an alliance? We are offering justice. The humans must be stopped before they spread their dangerous technology further. Join us, and the Drachnary Empire will be rewarded with advanced energy weapons beyond your current understanding. The transmission ended, leaving Krex to consider the offer. The Etherians had technology that was millions of years old. Their ships could travel between galaxies. Their weapons could crack planets in half. If they wanted the humans stopped, the humans would be stopped. But first, he needed to know exactly what the humans were capable of on Earth. Director Sarah Chun stood in the command center beneath the Alps Mountains. The facility had been built in secret over the past 20 years, hidden from both human governments and alien observers. Status report, Sarah called out. Luna Base reports all weapon systems online, came the reply from the communications station. Mars Defense Grid is at full readiness. The asteroid belt platforms are powered up and ready for combat. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. While the galaxy had been treating humans as primitive newcomers, Earth had been preparing for war. The Railgun New Horizon was just the beginning. Ma'am, we're receiving an urgent message from Dr. Vasquez. The communications officer announced. Sarah walked over to the main display screen. Elena's face appeared, looking tired and worried. Sarah, we have a problem, Elena said without preamble. Admiral Cathara just warned me that several species are planning military action against us. The Drachnari want our technology. The Etherians want us to stop all kinetic weapons research. How long do we have? Sarah asked. Days, maybe hours. Kithara's scouts detected fleet movements throughout the galaxy. They're coming, Sarah. Sarah smiled grimly. Let them come. We've been ready for this day since we first met the aliens 50 years ago. Elena looked surprised. What do you mean? Elena, do you really think New Horizon was our only secret project? We've been building kinetic weapons platforms throughout the solar system. If they want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. 3 days later, the first alien fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Vorthik of the Hegemony Remnants had gathered every pirate and mercenary he could find. 47 ships dropped out of hyperspace near Pluto, expecting to find a defenseless human homeworld. Instead, they found a trap. Unknown vessels. This is Luna-based Defense Command, came the transmission. You have entered restricted space. Leave immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Vorthik laughed. The humans were bluffing. His sensors showed no ships defending Earth, just a few space stations and orbital facilities. Human cowards, he broadcast. Surrender now, and we might let some of you live as slaves. That's when the moon opened fire. The entire lunar surface lit up with electromagnetic discharges. Dozens of railgun batteries that had been hidden in craters and underground tunnels revealed themselves. Tungsten rods accelerated to 20% of light speed, crossing the distance to the pirate fleet in seconds. Vorthik's flagship vaporized first, followed by 6 more ships in the opening salvo. The remaining pirates tried to flee, but the asteroid belt platforms had already locked onto them. Hidden weapons emerged from what looked like ordinary rocks, filling space with kinetic projectiles, in less than 10 minutes. The entire pirate fleet was destroyed, but that was just the opening act. High Counselor Nex materialized on the bridge of his ancient dreadnought as it emerged from hyperspace. The Etherian fleet was magnificent, 1,000 ships that glowed with internal light, each one capable of destroying planets. Humans of Earth, next broadcast across all frequencies. You will cease all kinetic weapons research immediately. Your species will be relocated to a world where you cannot threaten galactic peace. Resistance is futile. The reply came from Elena aboard New Horizon, which had returned to Earth space. High Counselor Nex, Elena said calmly. Your species abandoned kinetic weapons because you couldn't control them responsibly. We are not you. We know exactly what we're doing. You are children playing with cosmic fire, Nex replied. We will not allow you to repeat the mistakes of the past. Then you'll have to stop us, Elena challenged. The Etherian fleet began moving toward Earth, their ancient weapons charging with deadly energy. But as they approached Mars' orbit, they discovered something that made even Nex pause in surprise. The red planet was surrounded by a defensive grid that defied belief. Hundreds of kinetic weapon platforms orbited Mars in perfect formation. Each one was the size of a small moon, bristling with electromagnetic railguns. Impressive, Nex admitted, but still insufficient. That's when the real surprise revealed itself. Earth's moon suddenly split open along hidden seams, revealing the largest kinetic weapon ever built. The entire lunar interior had been converted into a single massive railgun, capable of accelerating projectiles to 30% of light speed. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez to all alien fleets, Elena announced. You came here expecting to find a primitive species with a few lucky weapons. You were wrong. We didn't stumble onto kinetic weapon technology. We perfected it. Space around Earth came alive with defensive platforms that had been hidden for decades. Asteroids revealed themselves as weapon stations. Space elevators converted into railgun launchers. Even the International Space Station deployed kinetic batteries that had been disguised as solar panels. We've been preparing for this day since first contact, Elena continued. While you dismissed us as primitive, we were building the most advanced kinetic warfare grid in galactic history. You want to test our weapons? Please, try us. The galaxy held its breath as two of the most powerful forces ever assembled faced each other in Earth's solar system. Ancient Etherean energy weapons against cutting-edge human kinetic technology. For the first time in a million years, the collective faced an enemy that could actually threaten them, and that enemy was humanity. Next stared at the tactical displays showing the human defensive grid. Each weapon platform represented technology that his people had abandoned eons ago. But the humans had improved on the ancient designs, making them faster, more accurate, more deadly than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Remarkable," he whispered. "They have weaponized Einstein himself." The standoff lasted 72 hours. High Counselor Nex floated in his command chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing the human defensive grid. Each icon represented enough firepower to destroy his flagship. There were thousands of them. His tactical officers had run the simulations 47 times. The results never changed. An attack on Earth would succeed, but the cost would be horrific. Half the Etherean fleet would be destroyed in the first exchange. For a species that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years, such losses were unthinkable. "Sir," called his weapons officer, "the human lure cannon is tracking our flagship. They have a firing solution." Nex studied the massive weapon that Earth's moon had become. The engineering was magnificent. Humans had hollowed out their natural satellite and turned it into the largest kinetic weapon in galactic history. The projectile it could fire would punch through ship shields like they were made of paper. "Fascinating creatures," Nex murmured. "They took their most precious celestial body and made it into a gun." On New Horizon, Elena watched the tactical display with tired eyes. 3 days without sleep had left her exhausted. But she couldn't rest while the galaxy's most powerful fleet aimed weapons at her homeworld. "Status report," she called out. "All Earth defense platforms are online," Marcus replied. "Mars grid is ready. Luna cannon is fully charged. We are firing solutions on 800 enemy targets." Sarah Chun's voice came through the communication system from the hidden command center. "Elena, we can't keep this up much longer. Our power grid is running at maximum capacity. If we have to fight, it needs to be soon." Elena nodded. The defensive grid was impressive, but it consumed enormous amounts of energy. Earth's fusion reactors were already operating beyond safe limits. "Any word from Admiral Kithara?" Elena asked. "She's trying to arrange a meeting between you and High Counselor Nex," Sarah reported. "But the Ethereans don't negotiate with younger species." "Maybe it's time they learned," Elena replied. On the bridge of the Centauran flagship, Admiral Kithara worked frantically to prevent a war that could destroy both civilizations. Her forearms moved across multiple control panels as she managed diplomatic channels throughout the galaxy. "Admiral," her communications officer called out. "The Draknari fleet just arrived at the edge of the system. General Krex is demanding we choose sides." Keither's secondary heart started beating faster. The Draknari had brought 50 warships, hoping to claim human technology after the battle. Other species were gathering at safe distances, waiting to see who would win. "Get me a secure channel to Dr. Vasquez," Kithara ordered. Alana's tired face appeared on the screen. "Admiral, any luck with the negotiations?" "The Ethereans won't talk," Kithara admitted. "But I have an idea. What if you bypass them entirely?" "What do you mean?" "Address the entire galaxy directly. Explain your position to everyone at once. Force the Ethereans to respond publicly." Elena considered the suggestion. It was risky, but staying silent wasn't working either. "Do it," she decided. 1 hour later, Elena stood in New Horizons' main conference room. Camera drones captured her image as she prepared to address every inhabited world in the galaxy. "People of the galaxy," Elena began. "My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez. 3 days ago, Your leaders came to my solar system with fleets and ultimatums. They demand that humanity surrender technology that we developed ourselves. They want us to abandon our right to defend ourselves." She paused, looking directly into the main camera. "We refuse." Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the transmission. In Centaurian military academies, students stopped their lessons to listen. On Zephyrian colonies, families gathered around communication screens. Even the proud Dragneri admitted grudging respect for Alana's courage. "The Etherian collective claims that kinetic weapons are too dangerous for younger species to possess," Alana continued. "But who gave them the right to decide what we can and cannot build? Who made them the guardians of galactic technology?" High Counselor Nex watched the broadcast with growing amazement. No younger species had ever challenged the collective so directly. 50 years ago, humanity joined your galactic community with hope and enthusiasm, Alana said. "We offered our friendship, our knowledge, and our loyalty. In return, you treated us like children who couldn't be trusted with sharp objects." Alana's voice grew stronger as she spoke. "You were wrong about us then, and you're wrong about us now. We didn't stumble onto kinetic weapon technology by accident. We mastered it through decades of hard work and brilliant engineering. These weapons aren't just tools of war. They're symbols of human determination and creativity." She gestured toward the window, where Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. "The collective demands that we abandon our defenses and trust them to protect us." But where was their protection when the hegemony attacked Zephyrian colonists? Where were their mighty fleets when pirates raided peaceful worlds? The question hung in space like an accusation. "Humanity offers a different path," Alana announced. "We propose the Kinetic Accord. We will share our basic railgun technology with any species that wants to defend itself. In exchange, we ask for equal representation in galactic government and recognition of our right to exist as free beings." The galaxy erupted in discussion. Some species immediately expressed interest in the human offer. Others worried about the consequences of widespread kinetic weapons. High Counselor Nex finally broke his silence. "Dr. Vasquez," his ancient voice echoed across the communication channels. "You speak of rights and freedom, but rights carry responsibilities. Can your species handle the responsibility of such devastating power?" Elena looked directly at the camera, knowing that Nex was watching. "High Counselor, your people abandoned kinetic weapons because you couldn't use them responsibly. You nearly destroyed the galaxy in ancient wars. But we are not you. We've learned from your mistakes." She pressed a button on her control panel. Across the human defensive grid, weapon systems powered down. The lunar cannon's targeting stopped tracking the Etherian fleet. Mars defense platforms went into standby mode. "We're lowering our weapons," Alana announced. "Not because we're afraid, but because we're confident. We built these defenses to protect ourselves, not to threaten others. If you leave our solar system in peace, we'll never fire a shot." The gesture sent shockwaves through both fleets. The humans were deliberately making themselves vulnerable to prove a point. Nex stared at his tactical displays in amazement. The humans had just voluntarily given up their advantage. It was either the gesture of a supremely confident species or the action of complete fools. "However," Alana continued, and her voice turned cold, "if you attack us after we've shown good faith, we will respond with everything we have. And I promise you, High Counselor, that your ancient ships have never faced anything like what we've built." The challenge hung in space like a thrown gauntlet. For long minutes, nobody moved. Two of the most powerful forces in galactic history faced each other while billions of beings held their breath. Finally, High Counselor Nex spoke. "Your confidence is either admirable or foolish. Dr. Vasquez, perhaps both." He paused, considering. "Very well. The collective accepts your proposal for talks. But we will be watching your species very carefully. The Etherian fleet began withdrawing from Earth space, their ancient ships disappearing into hyperspace one by one. The immediate crisis was over. 6 months later, Elena stood in the newly constructed Kinetic Defense Academy on Luna. Through the windows, she could see construction ships from dozens of different species, learning to install railgun systems on their vessels. That the Kinetic Accord had been signed by 43 different governments. Humanity now held a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. Piracy had dropped to historic lows as even the boldest criminals feared kinetic retaliation. Admiral Kithara approached Elena in the observation lounge, carrying 2 cups of human coffee. "Regrets?" Kithara asked, offering Elena one of the cups. Elena accepted the coffee and looked out at the busy construction yards. "About what?" "About changing the galaxy forever. About ending the age of energy weapons." Elena sipped her coffee and smiled. "Kithara, we didn't end anything. We just reminded the galaxy that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Physics doesn't become obsolete just because you invent newer toys." A young Zephyrian engineer floated past the window, working on a railgun installation. Elena recognized her from the colony they had saved months ago. "Besides," Elena added, "look at what we've accomplished. Species that were helpless against pirates can now defend themselves. The collective can't dictate terms to everyone anymore. The galaxy is more democratic and more peaceful." Kithara's 4 arms gestured agreement. "The Draknari is still complaining that their railguns are inferior to yours." Elena laughed. "Of course they are. We've had 300 years to perfect the technology. They've had 6 months. Give them time. And if they become a threat..." Elena's smile turned mysterious. "Kithara, do you really think the lunar cannon is our most advanced weapon? We've been building for 50 years. What you see here is just what we're willing to show the galaxy." As if to emphasize her point, a human transport ship launched from Earth, heading toward the outer planets. To casual sensors, it looked like an ordinary cargo vessel. But Elena knew it carried components for Project Monitor.